And we're live.
Kirby.
Kermit the Frog here, reporting from Sesame Street with PE.
Keep that in.
They only do it for you.
Okay. Hey guys.
Welcome to the Squat Plug.
Yeah. Episode God knows what. I'm here with
3.
Yeah. We're here today to talk about
We're going to talk about the screw up we made
Yes.
Yes.
in the last episode of the Arnold.
The cringe.
I mean, it wasn't anything major, I don't think, because the USAPL did a terrible job.
Narrator's voice. It was pretty major.
No, but to be honest, I mean, every coach that I've spoken with had assumed that that's how everything was being scored based on the points. And now we've come to find out that the points they only matter in regards to like how you got to the Arnold or how you got the invite.
You mean they matter to the Pro Series?
To the Pro Series, correct.
Yes.
But the Arnold is also like it's a separate event, but also counts
not
for Pro Series.
Separate event.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So it's only being scored by dots.
Yeah,
that is all.
Yeah. So the issue basically with us was that we're basically, we're presenting the Pro Series as being something very, very important there, and it turns out it's actually not as important. So we're saying, in other words, despite the dots, despite them taking first place, whatever the case happens to be, the most important thing is the ranking based off of these points. And we found out that's not necessarily the case.
That's not the case.
At least in the bigger picture, like as far as the Arnolds are concerned. For the Pro Series, it is indeed the case.
Yeah.
But it's something ancillary. So it makes you wonder, what the hell's going on with the Pro Series? Why even have a Pro Series?
I don't think anybody knows
if it doesn't even matter. Like, holy crap!
I don't think they know what's going on with the Pro
I think
Series.
so.
Because I just went into the USAPL website and I looked at all the Arnold stuff to see how they're scoring, and everything is basically like it's very vague, and then it's like we'll provide more details when we hash it all out, and it's like, okay, the Arnold's next weekend. Like, when are you guys going to let us know, all the details and stuff? But
which also explains why some people just dropped out of the Pro Series, because it's just not worth it for them.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's so ridiculous. That's actually something I think that could have potential. And they just basically, just said, okay, whatever. How does that make sense?
I mean, they probably realized, well, I'm not going to win. I have no chance of winning by dots.
No, not even that. I'm talking about the USAPL. Like, I can understand fully well for them. Like, oh, so what do I get out of this? I get a couple bucks.
Couple bucks and some bragging rights.
Yeah, legit. Yeah. You're basically dedicating the whole year, of your life to this Pro Series.
Yep.
And in return, what do you get out of it? How underwhelming,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's more important to just win the Arnold's out, right? Do your thing and fucking train the whole year round to get ready for that. Maybe just do nationals. This whole Pro Series thing and whatnot. Maybe if you're into the cash prize for the pro events. Maybe that's the enticement.
Yeah, I mean, Soph has been thinking the whole time that because she's the top of the leaderboard that she's ahead in some way, and now it's like, it's by dots. That's it. There's nothing. It has nothing to do. Like, me winning has nothing to do with these points. Yeah. So, I guess I don't know. That'll make things interesting, at least in terms of people probably going for much larger third attempts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're probably going to see people send it a little more, which I guess will be fun. But
I'm curious to see what happens with the Craftsman boys. Looking at SSG Bob, Ashton and Brandon now. We'll take it because it shakes things up. Before, based on what we were talking, we said that Bob would need to take 4th place for Ashton to take first, even if he took first and whatnot. That changes everything up.
That changed everything.
Everything's up in the air now.
That's not even. Yeah.
Of course, not even consequent.
So basically, it's who has the best dots.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
So based off of that, I know Sophie's not here right now. Who do you guys put down? Who would you say first, second, third?
Ooh.
I think.
I don't know. That's going to be interesting, to be honest.
For some reason, I have Petrie.
Petrie?
I don't know why. I just think that he's going to be a big upset.
I get a feeling too. I get a feeling.
Okay.
Yeah. He's been really quiet.
Yes,
but he also posted something yesterday that I saw, some decent numbers. His last heavy lifting.
Yeah.
It was like a 650
I don't think anyone's
squat.
posted any of the
yeah.
top
I mean, I know
heavy stuff. That
usually Ashton doesn't post before his meet. Bob does, but he still hasn't posted, right? Have you seen anything?
All Ashton's posted is his RP 6-7 stuff.
But yeah, I don't know.
Which is looking pretty good, anyways. So,
but I think Petrie has a chance of actually taking it. I don't know.
So speaking of which, yesterday again, Ashton posted a squat 738 at 6.7, bench 452 at 8, and a deadlift 750 pounds at sub 6. Yeah, that 452 moved. This wide grip bench press is
looking like an opener.
Yeah, and his deadlift right now he's pulling sumo. It's moving.
Honestly, his sumo technique has improved so much. Oh, yeah. I've noticed because I remember like a year or two ago, he just like his technique wasn't very good. His hips would shoot up. He was very just like not very efficient off the floor. And what I've seen from him lately is just the positioning is way better. His hips aren't shooting up or shooting back. And I don't know. I think he's going to pull something big.
I just watched SSJ Bob's last video from a week ago.
No, watch his stories.
SSJ Bob?
Yes.
What we got going on here?
300 kilo squat warm up. So I'm assuming he's been training, but he decided to stop posting.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying he has been training. You know,
well, I hope so.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying like I'm saying like he's been like
no, because we were speculating that he
might be hurt or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, looking at the video I saw from a week ago, that I guess that negates a whole lot of that stuff there. His deadlift doesn't seem to be as good as it was before.
Has he posted any 500-pound dips?
No.
Dip competition.
Oh man, let's have a dip off.
What did you see last week? What do you see last week?
I'm looking at this over here, and you see basically his bench press is 463, and he like bounces off his chest. He just crushes it. His squat was like 660 right there, and when I say compared to Ash's squat, was about the same. His deadlift was 722 and moved slower than Ash's deadlift move.
Where did you see that?
SSJ Bob's account, bro. Yeah, get it. So he has pinned messages there as well.
Okay, 1 week ago. Yeah, I just saw
the
it.
third one.
Okay,
So,
never mind. Okay, yeah, I saw it. I just saw it.
Compare that to Ash's lift. It's about the same.
Nah.
What's the weight on the bar?
661. And then Ashton here, from his last session, has...
What do you mean he bounced it off his
Ashton
chest?
has 738 on his back here. Moving pretty... You know Ashton's got it. I'm sorry. It's going to be Ashton, Brandon Petrie, maybe off like weights, pound per pound for dots. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to be SSJ Bob in third place.
So tell me what he's seeing here, bro.
I'll tell you right now.
This was...
I mean, what's his best squat?
That was a good pause. That was an amazing
That's
pause.
a solid pause. I mean, we know that Bob has a great fucking bench press.
The bench press
you can't deny that.
But bench press doesn't win meets anymore, man. You know, now it's squats. It doesn't. In fact, it doesn't really.
It does win meets because Bob, the only thing that he got a lot better at is bench, and as soon as his bench started blowing up, he became the best.
What's Bob's best squat currently? Like
7 in training. Or like
competition.
760.
760
at the Virginia Pro, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be tough. It's tough to tell with like a 661. It's 100 pounds less than his best. You know what I mean? So it's really tough to tell. Like, okay, move fast, but
But look at just relative to like how Ash has moved, and Ash squat at 722. This is yesterday. Yo, man, this guy really, he runs heavy until the very end. That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, also at the end of the day, if you think he's an 800-pound squatter, so 722, he's not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's not.
I mean, I think his best squat's 816, not in competition.
In training,
I think it's like 816.
He squatted 800 in competition. Did he? At Arnold last year.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I remember that. I remember watching it, seeing the lift.
All right. Well, I think they're going to battle it out and be fun to watch. Either way.
Interesting. If anything, I'd say maybe it's going to be close between. If I had to guess, my opinion is it's going to be first and second between Ashton and Brandon, and third place is going to be Bob as well.
It's going to be whoever doesn't drink the tap water.
I think it's going to be whoever. To be serious, I think it's going to be whoever doesn't miss attempts. Because I feel like at this point, right now, they're all really close. Yep. Petrie's coming in really strong. So
you're right. So that I would say Brandon Petrie's probably the more likely one to win. Because he has more discipline and he has better execution when it comes to meet day than Ashton does. Yep. Ashton is liable to go off the deep end for his third attempts.
Yeah, I totally agree.
SSJ Bob, I don't think, can go off in the deep end right now with his deadlifts based on what's happening there. When he's really winning, when he's winning consistently, he's posting. He doesn't care. He posts. The fact that he's showing some restraint right now is an indication that things aren't working out the best.
Maybe he's being influenced by the other New York lifters that don't post their lifts.
I would really hope not.
But
that would be the cringiest thing ever. Yo, by the way, I'm going to be a coach, and I'm not going to post my videos. I'm just going to basically show you my warm downs and my back downs and so on and so forth. And this is basically to convey to people how serious of a lifter I am, and not to show you that basically I'm resilient in any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to hide things over here so I don't get butt hurt in the event that something shows up as good in my training and not so good on meet day. You know, like what kind of a mindset is that? You know, as a coach, you show the good and the bad and whatnot because you have to teach people that you're going to go through the good and the bad, and you're going to come out at the end of it. What kind of facetious fucking, I don't know. It's revolting. It really
Do you think that people hide their top sets just in case something goes wrong on meet day?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I've seen people say the exact same thing, talking about like somebody was saying how he doesn't show us up because he's afraid of people's rebuke, whatever the case is. And if you don't show, you don't get rebuked, so you're a coward. So you're telling me you're not showing yourself because you're a coward. You know, so it's important to you, and it's so important to you. The fact your image is more important than the actual performance, or having some kind of redemption arc, or showing people that you can get better. You know,
I think that's fair.
I think it's important for all of us to realize that sometimes we're going to suck and that we do get better.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to see people, I guess, go down and then come back up again. You know, like Ashton's had his rough patches as well, and he came out of it. You know, came out the.
Everybody loves a comeback story.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but I mean, it's like so. A few of these individuals are also coaches, quote unquote coaches, you know, and they obscure these top sets from the lifters and whatnot in the event that something happens to them on meet day.
My question is,
can't look bad as a
my
coach.
question is, what federation they go into, which federation they coach in? Because as of recently, you heard Powerlifting America is not allowing coaches go into
IPF. In fact.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes, non-IPF sanctioned meets and events. So how do you feel about that as a coach? Man. Both of you.
Mark, what do you think?
Personally, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, not that I coach a ton of people in other federations, but if I were to like get, penalized in some way for going to a Powerlifting America meet or like I handled Carlos in that APF meet a month ago or whatever, if someone, some executive of the USAPL sent me a letter and said, now you're banned. Like, I don't know. I find that super lame.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it'd be one thing if, like, legit, like, these federations provide money to that extent. The people could, have their whole livelihoods based off of it. Like, you win a IPF competition, or even, you basically get to that point. You're making millions of dollars a year, like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You understand. You kind of have to be, dedicated to that path. But that's not the case. And many coaches and whatnot base their coaching to whoever they can manage to coach.
Yep.
So when it comes down to being stuck in one federation, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's just...
Plus, it kind of speaks a little bit to, like, gatekeeping in certain federations. Because it's like, not everybody has access to USAPL or Powerlifting America.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes you just live in an area where all you have is a USPA meet, or all you have is a WRPF meet, or all you have is, whatever, obscure federation that is in your area. If you want to powerlift, that's the federation that you have to compete in, or you have to drive 6-8 hours to go to a meet. So to gatekeep and say that, oh, you can't compete in this federation if you want to come, I think it's ridiculous.
It's such a jealous, such a manipulative. I mean, just toxic mindset. You can't compete in this federation because we want you to compete in ours. I mean, what business is it to you what this person is doing over there? They're competing in federation.
Yeah. Also, and do you want to grow the sport of powerlifting, or do you want people? No, they just want to profit off of people coming to their meets.
Yes, precisely.
In their federation.
And so we were talking about earlier, before this podcast started, and we could be incorrect about this whatnot, but it's worth bringing up that they situate these meets around the same times as the USAPL does.
Yeah.
Powerlifting America, IPF, and so on and so forth. And it's done so because basically now you're stuck. You're basically forced. You come to a crossroads. You either peak for this meet or you peak for that meet. Either you peak for Powerlifting America Nationals or you peak for the Arnolds. You can't do both. So all of a sudden the person's forced into the one direction as opposed to the other over here. It doesn't do anything, I guess, to grow the sport itself. There's a whole lot to alienate people and whatnot. It's also, I think
that's not done by accident.
It's not done by accident, I think it's very I think it's very petty, and it's something that people need to get past and whatnot. I would be more inclined to compete in Powerlifting America if that wasn't the case. I'm 275 right now. I'd much rather prefer to be in 250s and compete in 260.
Well, powerlifting, the pool for lifters in Powerlifting America is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Right, so you have way more of a chance to compete at a national level.
That wouldn't even be the reason why, to be honest. For me,
you qualify for nationals anyways, right? But I'm just saying, it might incentivize people who wouldn't qualify for, say, USAPL nationals to go do nationals in another federation. That's a little more legitimate than
if I'm being
other
honest,
federations that will not name.
Powerlifting America like nationals are almost like a joke because you have like the top like lifters in the world competing with like people with like a 350 dots, and it's like that difference is like so bizarre. It's
not to trash the federation itself, because frankly, I mean, they do what they want to do. No matter what the management of both like federations thinks about each other, and there's apparently like a whole lot of history there, you know, and there's a whole lot of like anger and mistrust and so on and so forth going on there. And I understand that's their business. You know, when it comes down to this federation, it's a brand new federation, right? It's doing its own thing. And the lifters who are like a part of it, whatnot, they have their own aspirations, that's fine. You know, if you're going to compete in Powerlifting America versus USAPL, it's your prerogative. I think the way the management itself is running PLA, though, and how it's having meets take place at the same time as USAPL, that's a bit of an issue there.
Yeah.
You know, it's problematic. And it shows you what they're doing. They're not doing what they want to do, what they need to do. They're doing things in spite of this federation.
Yep.
I think they're not doing. They're not trying to grow the federation. They're just trying to go against USAPL at this point. Because if they were trying to grow their federation, they would have more meets like far apart from like USAPL meets, so people from the USAPL can try the Powerlifting America. Yeah. But this way, like I'm a USAPL lifter, right? I don't want to do a Powerlifting America meet just because it's probably around the same time that. As Powerlifting America meets, like even collegiate nationals, they have it on the same week.
Do they really?
Yes,
wow.
they do.
Yeah.
Like you can't do.
Surprising.
Yeah, you can't do if you want to do both. You can't do both.
Yeah. Just these little happy accidents that keep happening over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one thing. I mean, it's interesting to see how many people basically are going over to Powerlifting America of late. Like a few more additions, like you had, like recently Mike Toucher went over, and Bryce went over.
And I mean, it makes sense if you have world competition aspirations, you know, because I mean, I know that USAPL is trying to put together some international meets, but if you want to compete at Worlds, IPF Worlds, I mean, that's your only avenue at this point.
I agree. No, and you're right. I mean, USAPL doesn't have its own answer to it, and its international presence is still rather limited. You have USAPL Korea, USAPL China, USAPL Australia. The name itself is also very redundant. It tells you just how unserious this is, though. If you're gonna have international aspirations and you're gonna start to open up in different locations outside of the U.S., maybe you change it from USAPL to something else. You come up with another name.
Something,
you know? It's that simple. Even
the USPA that have their IPL or whatever it is, I'm pretty sure that like their international federations have their own names. They're not named like USPA. Like
I know.
Well, it should be like an international something.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And then USAPL would be the American affiliate of that.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, if you know the United States or the higher ups in the USAPL are the ones that want to head this international committee, then that's fine. But like you should come up with your own.
Well, again, it just goes to show just how schismatic I guess their leadership is and how half-assed they do a whole lot of these things, because you have the Pro Series, which doesn't matter. You have an international entity, like, you're trying to build and whatnot, which it's called USAPL Australia, USAPL, China, USAPL Korea, and it's not very serious, nor do you have an international competition for them.
Yeah.
So you're doing like half measures for everything, bro. It's like you're trying this, you're trying that, trying the other thing, and so on and so forth. It's
a dabble.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have Powerlifting America that's trying to like go against you for no reason. It's like it's a really weird.
I'm not a fan of any of these federations. Let's not even begin to talk about the USPA, by the way.
Oh no,
because it's. I think the P is standing for something else of late.
Got him.
You mean Power Builder?
Yes.
Power Builder.
Yes, Power Builders Association. But I don't know. It's just it's crazy to be in this day and age to have so many federations, and each one of them has like these ridiculous things, which frankly they shouldn't. Where's the professionalism? Where's the what's we call it, like the broader mindset. Everything's like so narrow-minded. Everything's so petty. Everything's like, I'm going to get back at these guys for this, that, and the other thing. We're going to split up the federation because of this problem over here. Oh, you want to do testing? You're gone. None of it makes sense. Where's the compromise? Where's the maturity in these people, bro?
Non-existent.
So another thing, also speaking about this stuff and talking about these other federations, I'm actually very curious to see what happens to the IPF and these rules that it's coming up with.
Yeah.
in terms of
feet in the bench, the whatchamacallit.
Oh my God!
I was watching yesterday the Nationals, and I saw. I think it was. So what happened was like this person, I forgot who it was. So they got 3 white lights on bench. They had no issues. Then apparently they came out for their second attempt, and I saw like their attempt was missed.
Yep.
So apparently like they
there's no consistency with
they got 3 white lights for the bench, and then I'm assuming they got red lighter after the lift about it, which was really weird.
Did somebody dispute it?
Did we talk about this?
No, but if you get 3 white lights, you cannot dispute the lift. If somebody gets 3 white lights, you cannot.
So what took place? They rolled it back?
I'm assuming
Wait,
they
all
didn't.
3 of them like accidentally
I think they didn't hit elbow depth, so like they just took it back.
So let's talk about this though. How can you actually monitor elbow depth? We're looking at, or like it's actually like moderate from the top of the shoulder, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Center judge can see that. How can the side judge see that?
No, I think the only person that can judge it is the center judge.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so inconsistent.
No,
but unless it's really obvious, then I'm
or
assuming.
If they think it's obvious because it's subjective. Again, it's human.
Yeah, how can you see that from the side?
How many people were officiating over over the course of the day? Right, one person after the other, and so will press the button, see them lift, rack the weights.
But I saw a couple lifts get a red lighter yesterday, like just from the middle judge for depth. Mm-hmm. But like the attempt was still good, so I don't understand why.
I forget who posted about this in. I think it was the CPU Nationals. Mm-hmm. It might have been Jessica Bittner. I can't remember. But they posted like their 3 benches, and the like elbow depth was consistent across the 3 benches, but the calls were different every time.
Makes sense. I mean, it's pretty new, so like it's really hard to judge.
It's really hard to judge.
It's hard to judge for many different reasons. I mean, you look at basically the shoulder itself, right? And there's no delineating line there. I mean, when you look at basically where a person's hip is relative to the knee, it's easier to see that.
Yeah.
Person comes down, you see it there.
Yeah.
There's none of that. There's none of those lines of symmetry in what that's taking place in the shoulder. So it comes down to where do you think the center of the shoulder is.
It's way too subjective.
It really is.
Yeah.
Again, just like the.
It's like let's decide as soon as they come out where we're going to judge their elbow depth at.
Yeah, it's like, and even then, it hasn't changed the angle of people's like arches that much. So what was the whole point of this to begin with?
No.
You
know what's crazy? Arches. I saw this video. This person, they basically said as they can just flare out their elbows and they can hit elbow depth.
I saw that. Yeah.
And it's like everything else is the same. Their like grip width is the same. Yep. Their arch was the same. All they did was just flare their elbows out. So what's the point of having elbow depth rule if all you can do is just like change your technique just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of it, though it wasn't very well thought out. But to eliminate these 1-inch range of motion bench presses, which but like also what's the percentage of lifters who actually have this?
It's a very narrow percentage.
It's very small.
But you also look at those lifters who have that narrow percentage there. The bench press makes them, I guess, like a good lifter overall. But then you look at the other lifts, and they're not as good. Somebody with that kind of thoracic mobility and whatnot isn't necessarily the best squatter.
Yeah, you rarely see that they have this 1-inch range of motion on the bench press, and then they have a huge squatter, huge deadlift as well. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's very narrow-minded, very insular mindset when it came out to coming up this rule, and the reasoning for it was explicit. They said because it's turning people off. This is what
it was pressure from the socials at the end of the day. Yeah. It's not for any other reason than like
from randos who have no idea about powerlifting.
Exactly. It's always people that have no idea about powerlifting.
It's from the people that like say, "Oh, he's pulling sumo. He's not strong."
So do you know why they care about this and why they care about the socials and the image and like how these lifts look like? It has nothing to do with the fact that basically, it actually means anything, but it has a lot to do with the fact that they're trying to get into the Olympics. So they think that if things look a little bit more, more presentable, if you want to call it that.
I guess, yeah.
They'll grant them more of an opportunity to get into the Olympics.
But what are the chances?
But the reason why the USAPL, hear me? Why powerlifting is not in the Olympics has nothing to do with range of motion or sumo versus conventional. It has everything to do with something else. And let's look at something which is analogous to powerlifting that's currently in the Olympics, and that's weightlifting. Weightlifting is on the verge of being removed from the Olympics. And you know why it's being on the verge of being removed from the Olympics?
The range of motion.
Yeah, of course. Conventional clean and jerkers versus sumo clean and jerkers. No, it comes down to drug testing and the amount of people who are caught cheating.
Yep.
So if that's happening in weightlifting, it's been around for as long as it has been. It's been known just how bad it is to be caught cheating. So people still do it. Imagine what it's going to be like with powerlifting being introduced into the sport.
Oh, brutal.
So that's the biggest turnoff. That's why I won't be. I personally think there's no chance that powerlifting is going to be in the Olympics. As much as I'd love to see it in there, just based on what we know ourselves, seeing what takes place like in competitions and so on and so forth, and people we know, not too far from us who are actually, competing tests that they shouldn't be. It hasn't got much of a chance of taking off.
And also, even if powerlifting ever ended up being in the Olympics, it wouldn't be raw powerlifting.
Yeah.
Like from what I see, like they're trying to push single ply. Because
the closest thing we have to the Olympics is the World Games.
Yes, and
which is single ply.
Yeah, exactly.
However, I've heard a lot of speculation that within the next couple of years, the World Games is going to be exclusively raw.
Well, I don't know about that. Not that it matters. I don't think it's really important, to be honest.
That would be interesting if that took place,
But
I can see the kind of helping out, but again, it goes back to the testing. And to hammer home just how, because people say, but it doesn't happen that much in powerlifting. Okay, we're looking at international scene, right? We look at basically what's taking place overall globally. Many of the countries, the vast majority of the countries, in fact, who are competing in the IPF, do not test out of meet, do not test, period, for the entirety of their athletes, right? And so now we look at basically this, comes out to these, competitions and so on and so forth, where the testing takes place. Was it 2016 when the U.S. held the IPF Worlds in America?
I want to say
if memory serves correctly.
No.
2018?
Yes, maybe actually.
I think
2017?
I think it's 20. I believe it's 2016.
Okay, we'll just go with that.
So we'll correct ourselves as need be.
But
during that year, Tornado comes to the U.S. and says, "Oh, by the way, we're going to be testing your athletes." And the USAPL says, "No, the fuck you're not. It's going to be USADA who tests athletes here." And lo and behold, record number of international lifters pop positive during that competition.
Ooh, that does not surprise me. Yes.
So what does that tell you there? These are the issues that we're dealing with. This is why powerlifting will not make its way into the Olympics. That has nothing to do with your arches, has nothing to do with sumo, nothing to do with low bar or any of that other shit.
Yeah.
It has 100% to do with the fact that people fucking cheating. And it's so rife and so common, and it happens so often that they can't entertain the thought.
Yeah.
Imagine you do that, and all of a sudden you find all the first placers in every category are positive for steroids or PEDs,
especially in these smaller countries all over Europe.
Of course.
It's very
Asia
it's very
China.
corrupt.
Yes, it's China, Russia,
and not only
Bulgaria.
that is that some of these countries don't have money to pay for these WADA tests that cost $1,000.
But
usually what happens, like all these countries, they get popped at Olympics. So even if you don't get popped in your national national meet, you're going to get popped for steroids at Olympics. Exactly. So it's going to be the same exact issue that weightlifting has.
Yeah, that's fair.
Precisely, be the same thing. And so you have that stuff. And it comes down to basically the other thing that takes place here. You have somebody who's participating in sports like powerlifting or like weightlifting, which really, apart from the big events, they're not money makers. You can play basketball all year round, right? And you still make money off it. Same thing is also true for I guess the other sports.
Longer range of motion.
Soccer, that kind of stuff. Longer range of motion. Soccer, so on and so forth. Well, you can still make money when you're not out there. So the chance, I guess, of people cheating, so and so becomes a lot lower. If the only time you're making money off of that event is at this I want to say this ultimate event, then the entire rest of the year you can do anything it takes to do your best there. And particularly if you're like one of the smaller countries where basically the government itself is maybe subsidizing your training. Yeah, maybe paying for your living expenses and whatnot. Mm-hmm. The pressure on you is to do everything you can to to be the best there. Just imagine, here you're person A, I guess, representing China and stuff like that, and you're at home taking care of your family off the stipend that the government's giving you. You show up to the Olympics and you take third, or you don't even podium and stuff like that. What happens? Person B gets put in your stead.
Yep.
Do you make that money? So what are you willing to do with that kind of pressure on you and whatnot to be number one? Anything. So circling back, I think we were talking about how South Korea is IPF affiliate or organization, whatever it was, had made a decree talking about how USAPL is an illegal entity within Korea. That's a bit of an issue. I think
I'd say so.
Huge oversight. It was such a draconian language as well. It's it's an illegal organization. You shouldn't be competing there. You get the death penalty if you compete. I was like,
we'll chop your hands off.
Feed them to your young. What? No. But just that kind of stuff. So,
no, but just threats of bans and I think it's a little over the top.
Nothing new for IPF affiliates, to be honest.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, it's some basically saying
the Calcutta IPF affiliate.
But think about how messed up it is, because now you're a coach, you have so many different people, I guess, in so many different federations. They're telling people, in other words, fuck you and fuck your lifters. You guys are either with us or against us.
Yeah, pretty much. drawing
and I don't understand like the whole point of the IPF not allowing lifters in different federations was like because their testing was they were not testing so like or like their testing was not up to par with IPF, right? But what's the point of banning a coach from attending a different federation's meet? The coach is not getting tested, so like what's the point of this?
That just kind of shows that they're butthurt over the whole thing, you know.
It goes back to them basically trying to force people into their organization.
Yep.
Because you see that the USAPL is a legitimate threat. Indeed, it is. If USAPL, like I said, did pick
if they get their shit together, they will be.
If they do, if they did, and if they had their shit together, frankly, we wouldn't be in the situation we're in. You know.
Well, what situation exactly?
The situation where basically the USAPL and the IPF split. You know, I'm sure that I don't know what took place behind the scenes and so on and so forth, but to find yourself in such a position where basically there's no compromise, and basically you're forced to divorce yourself from them and so on and so forth. That's not the most I guess intelligent way to go about things for the interests of the lifters, whether or not they were absolutely right in this situation. I don't know. I mean, I just think maybe cooler heads should have prevailed and should have found a way to do something else over here. Because currently, right now, the state of powerlifting is quite a bit of a mess because of these two organizations.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and the USAPL itself isn't innocent of any wrongdoing. I mean, they've had their issues in the past as well. You know,
100%.
They've made both had mistakes, just like every federation has.
I mean, I do agree with the stance they took though with the IPF, because IPF was basically like, you guys can't do your own testing at local meets. You have to do the WADA tests or no tests, and USAPL was like, nah. And that's basically why they broke off.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that.
So I don't really, I kind of agree that they stood their ground on the fact that they wanted to do more testing at local meets. Otherwise, the testing wouldn't get done.
So something interesting to talk about the testing. It was a ways back, about a year and a half ago, if memory serves correctly, maybe longer. I actually looked at to see who they actually sending their test results to, USAPL. Someplace out in California, if memory serves correctly, like Redwood Labs or something like that. And, this is just, something I noticed is that the reviews there weren't too favorable for the lab. They're talking about, I guess, false positives, negatives, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if that
I think it was popped. I think it was lifters that got popped and they got salty, so they want to talk shit about that.
But it wasn't even lifters.
I mean, that's a possibility.
No, it wasn't lifters because that lab isn't just testing powerlifters.
Of course,
USAPL,
of course.
It's other people.
The lab would never stay open.
So
the
USAPL lab.
They do one test.
So there were clear discrepancies there. Now, I know somebody who actually works in these labs, and my wife is one of these people. She's a lab technologist, and so she tells me about the people that she works with. And let me tell you, some of the practices, if people found out about them, they'd be quite upset.
I believe that. Are all tests though? Like, let's even say from the Northeast, right? Are they sending them out to California? Like these local?
When I saw that, I think that was the one main facilities. Like I think
like for the national national meet. But the national meet tests are water tests.
Honestly,
are they?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, currently, I forget exactly where they're sent and whatnot, which may also, I guess, explain why there was a test recently that was done. I think it came back inconclusive or something like that, based off what I heard. And it may be because it was sent like to one of these local labs, and the tests weren't done the right way. And this does happen. Where basically
what do you mean it came back inconclusive?
It came back inconclusive. So in other words, if somebody basically messes up the sample, it doesn't do things the right way. There's certain controls that need to be put into place, certain things that need to be done from point A to point B.
I guess that's that's something that we never really talk about.
But if that happens,
we talk whether the tests get done or not, but we never go much further.
Exactly.
Than that. Wait, so what happens if that's the case? Like, do they retest the athlete or what?
Well, at that point, it's moot.
No, they should because
they should absolutely.
In theory, you should be drug free throughout like your whole lifting,
correct,
while you're
but
lifting. So
there are certain substances that are banned within meat, but not necessarily banned out of meat. So there's if you get tested on competition day, right, and it comes up inconclusive, and then they go test you, and you're 3-4 months out of the meet, and you come up with something that shouldn't have been there on meet day, but is allowed out of meat, then that's problematic too.
Like what?
I don't know. I'm not really very familiar with like the list of banned and not banned substances, but like you could take, I think things like Adderall, Ritalin, marijuana.
No, but
things like that.
I mean, I think you can be high in the platform, and as long as it's not like past a certain threshold, Like as long as you're not clapped.
That's what I've heard.
Heard
you know,
I'm not sure
that's what I've
exactly how that
heard,
works
but
out.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Like, what we're basically talking about here is essentially that the lab facilities themselves may not be conducting the best, most rigorous testing.
Absolutely.
And so you may have tests that go by the wayside, which in fact should have been flagged. Or perhaps, I guess, that may be getting flagged, which I doubt. Which are coming up positive. Because I think they err on the side of basically giving a person a false negative as opposed to a false positive.
Absolutely.
If memory serves correctly. I've heard instances of things happening otherwise. I happen to know somebody who's also a doctor of what's called toxicology. He works at quite a few of these labs. He's given me quite a bit of input in regards to this subject over here. So I think the best way to do these things, and I'd say what the USAPL should have considered, was basically maybe considering foregoing maybe even local meat testing and figuring out another way to test, maybe with water tests and so on and so forth. Like if it's tough and it's. I can't blame the USAPL honestly for defending itself. Like looking at this, I guess a little bit more, in depth and whatnot. I think they made the right measure. But like in meat testing, as accurate as it can be on meat day itself, there's plenty of time for a person to cycle off. There's many ways for people to get around things. I think you need to have random testing. Maybe I guess you don't show up to a person's place, but you tell them like once a month that random points a month we're going to call you this location. Have one for every state perhaps, or something like that. But I don't know how feasible it is financially. I don't know, how easy.
But are you going to do that?
Do.
I mean, how are you going to select lifters? Is it only going
I
to
would
be
say the top 5%.
Once you get to certain dots, once you get to 400, 450 dots, immediately you're.
I think those people are already getting out of meat testing.
But there's a lot of lifters that are like
Sophia showed up to the gym, I think, last week and got.
Yeah, but Sophia is like.
No, it is good. No, that's that's my
Sophia
point.
is one of the best in her weight class. Ylli is like a 450 dots. Is probably like.
Damn, you're gonna do your coach like that?
No. But he said
being cooked.
Wait, but Sophie's good. Ylli's just Ylli.
He said no.
Look at this pathetic piece of shit.
I'm not trying to say something bad
he's
about
all
him.
fat. Shit, what is this, man?
What I'm trying
False
to say.
advertising, that motherfucker. Okay, I'm sorry.
What I'm trying to say is that the 450 dots is like there's a lot of powerlifters that have like a 450 dots. If you try to test every single one of them, it's going to be a shit ton of tests.
You probably need to meet like a minimum.
There is plenty of them. There's a lot. Don't pull it out. There's at least like 1,000 lifters in the USAPL alone that have.
You would be surprised.
I would say 500.
I think sub 450, yes.
No,
like within the 400 to 450 range, yes, but 450 plus.
No, I would say the 500 dots would be like a good point to start testing people out of meat.
You're doing the math in your head right now?
No, I'm just thinking. Like, if it's not impressive. 450 dots not even that impressive.
I mean, if you're going to compare it to like the top 5%.
450 dots will barely get you internationals.
I agree.
If you think about it that way. We're not even, like, for some weight classes, it's not even going to get you international. So why would I test somebody that is not even into a national level?
Okay, so in the year 2022, my dots was 453. I was number 879 in the US.
So 1,000 lifters, like I said. So you cannot test 1,000 lifters out of meat. You cannot go you could test every month.
You could probably test more lifters though.
Yeah, like I said,
the ones that place top 3 at nationals.
Yeah, something like the top 5 or top 10 or something.
I think top 10 would be reasonable.
Top 10 would be good.
Well, so maybe make it so the 450 plus whatnot. It's possible to get tested within a month. You don't have to. We say it's possible. Then when you get closer to, let's just say 500 dots, you're going to get tested every month.
I think that's fair.
And then you start to narrow it down as you go forward.
I think the closer you get to certain meats too.
Yeah.
Testing should probably increase a little bit.
Or if you sign up for nationals and whatnot, then the chance of being tested out of meat.
Well, because you're going to sign up for nationals many months in advance.
Of course.
So they should probably.
Like I signed up already.
Depending. We could sign up
Unless, last minute so they won't know what I'm doing.
I mean, that would probably start to be used as a strategy by some people. And
probably.
Then,
those people will get tested more often.
But you can pick up on that pattern, right? And then test those people more often.
Recognition becomes a part of the process as
Absolutely.
well. You start to see these things happen whatnot. You also see their training maybe. See people basically like a training very well. Then all of a sudden, 6 weeks before meet, things start to fall apart the seams.
They should have somebody in the USAPL checking people's social media. It's like that's their job, just checking people's social media, checking their training to this guy, his training has not been going really well.
They're not even paying referees, man.
Honestly, God, it's in theory, like
everything sounds good in theory.
Like you could do it, and all of a sudden in practice, it just falls apart at the seams.
Yeah,
it's so tough, man. Like how do you do this?
I mean, maybe increase the price of the membership a little bit.
I mean,
not to the point that some people say, like fucking.
But here's the issue now. Now all of a sudden
you should pay $500 for a meet.
But now you have people basically wasting time now. So let's just say somebody decides to basically take a hit out on you and report you basically for potential use and so on and so forth. They come out, they test you, it's negative. That said, I think we need to find a better way to test, or the testing protocols and stuff like that, because it is important to have people who are competing drug tested to be confirmed to be drug tested and drug free.
Yeah,
and to have the whole sport itself, operating under that umbrella without people throwing scrutiny in that direction.
I agree. Plus, I'm not sure how standardized the testing is, like across the whole state, across the whole country. Rather.
It's probably different. I've seen Quest Diagnostics. I saw the Redwood Labs. I've seen all kinds of shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, that's the issue that the IPF apparently had. So,
and I don't think it's too, considering the fact that I know a little bit of the the underside of stuff and how it actually operates in these labs. It's not the worst argument,
No, I agree, but at the end of the day, they're still trying to do more meat testing at a local level. And, the IPF wasn't happy about that. And I could understand the limitations to the testing that they do. But I really don't think that it should either be WADA or bust. It's either you do these super expensive WADA tests or you don't do any of the tests at all. And there's got to be some sort of in between there. There's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
It makes you wonder. I mean, there's also other ways to do these tests. Like, for example, when you do tests for certain drugs and whatnot, for all the sports, if I'm mistaken, you take like large samples. I think this is what USAPL is in practice as well. Take like large amounts of samples and you send them all at the same time. Basically kind of mix them and you see if anything shows up basically with trace amounts of the compound. If it does, then you actually do the actual rigorous testing with those. So if you find out that, for example, trace amounts of, steroids show up, whatnot, you find trace amounts of cocaine show up and so on and so forth, then you test that whole sample individually. Or you subdivide it again. Conversely, if you find that nothing pops up for anything and stuff like that, you proceed as usual. You basically, you don't have to do that rigorous testing and so on and so forth. So that's maybe one of the ways you could do it, and make it cheaper.
Yeah. I don't think that's the ultimate issue or one of the ultimate issues.
It goes back to money.
The cost of the testing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap for this episode. I mean, in terms of like the, what we were talking about initially, IPF and these ban threats and all this in the clash of Powerlifting America and USAPL, the big competitions. It's just kind of a shit show right now, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes from here.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bright, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
I don't think
the future is bleak.
It's bleak indeed.
It's like the best and the worst time at the same time for
right?
powerlifting. So it's going to be interesting.
I mean, powerlifting is growing considerably, so I think it'll be interesting. I don't want to speculate on where it's going to go, but the sport is growing. A lot more people are coming into the fold, and I'm just happy for that fact, to be honest.
Honestly, I think in the end, ultimately, I'm rooting for the USAPL, and indeed I am. But I think the international level clout puts the IPF in a position of advantage here.
Yeah, 100%.
I think ultimately, as much as it pains me to say it, because I'd much rather prefer to compete in the USAPL, and I will continue to be competing in the USAPL, Powerlifting America is going to draw those people out into its ranks.
Yeah.
I think they're going to draw like the top lifters.
Well, top lifters that have wanted to go compete at Worlds.
But you draw the top lifters, you draw the competition. You draw people who want to compete against them. I would compete.
There's still going to be competition.
Yeah, no, but why I'm in the USAPL, why I wasn't in the USPA predominantly, was because where was the competition in the USAPL? And I could care less about deadlift bar or stiff bar.
But you're not a top lifter. I'm sorry to say that, but you're not.
No, it goes without saying. It goes without saying. But it's what draws me into it. I want to be there, and I want to get to that level.
But if you think about like say the top 10, right? If the top 2 lifters go to Powerlifting America,
you have 8 top lifters.
8 more top lifters. But that's my point, though, is like that's the competition now.
Yeah.
And unless you're one of those 8 lifters that wants to go chase after those top 2, like you're still going to be highly competitive, and people that are lower than you in the rankings are still going to chase after you. Like you're still going to chase after that top 8.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily need that top 2 or top 3 to chase after.
You'll have more competitors within your dots in USAPL compared to Powerlifting America. Powerlifting America, like I said, is like it's like the top 5 and not even top 3. Top 2,
and then just
and then like people with like sub 400.
So let me put it to you this way: how many people basically are playing basketball at a certain level and considering, oh, you know, I'm gonna do the NCAA, and how many people are actually saying, oh, you know, I'm gonna do if I ever get into the NBA, you know, or people,
but it's different. It's not the same.
It's but let's look for something else. Like let's just say somebody basically is like a semi-pro. You think he's like dreaming about like the semi-pro?
A lot of people, but that's not what it means. Like, but. A lot of those people go to overseas to play basketball. They don't stay they don't stay in the U.S. to try to like get in the NBA. They just go overseas. So,
but they go overseas because they don't make it in the NBA.
Yeah, so people go to the USAPL. People go to the USAPL because they're not the best powerlifters in the world, so they cannot go to the Powerlifting America.
Well, that's not the truth. IPF. That's actually not the case right now. The best powerlifters in the world are currently in the USAPL for the most part. At least
depending on the weight class.
Women's apparently it skews the other way. IPF has more of the best women in the world. So. As far as that's concerned, currently it's still the USAPL. That may well change.
I think they did a good job incentivizing with some cash prizes to keep people in.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is something I guess we could talk about.
Maybe we could go on and on about this.
I know we could go on and on. So I guess that's it for today. You can join us on our next episode where we're going to talk about warm-ups.
And possibly, we have to talk about the Sheffield as well.
Oh, we also have to talk about the Sheffield.
So we will figure out what we'll talk about.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next time.
All right,
peace.